Hey everybody, it's the Salty Pug Lord. How y'all been doing? Well, I just wanted to take a brief break from the Circuit Golf videos and do a quick Empyrion video. I've been playing a little bit of Empyrion recently, mainly because of the big news about how Empyrion is going to beta. A lot of people in the community aren't quite sure if Empyrion is ready for beta yet or not. I'm sort of in the Futurama neutral response category.
What are your thoughts on this momentous occasion? Your neutralness?
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
Certainly there are some things that I think this game needs to have done to it, fixes, but I think mostly small stuff. And one thing I wanted to show you guys, a nasty little bug that I think could make your life hell if you didn't know what was going on. It took me a little while to figure out what the hell when this hit me. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so let's say you are trying to put an open cockpit in your SV. If you put the cockpit in your hotbar, you point at your SV and you right-click. Oh, apparently they fixed this. When I was playing in 12.3.1 a couple days ago, when you right-clicked on your SV with a cockpit, you could not actually see the open cockpits here. Everything from here on down was just gone. So it was a stupid bug, another proof that Empyrion Studios does not know how to regression test their code, does not know what a unit test is, and, you know, are just kind of mediocre software engineers. In fact, while we're talking about me bagging on Empyrion, let's go ahead and do the other part of this where I bag on Empyrion. So when the 12.3 update came in, the 12.3.3 update came in, this is what I saw on my Steam screen. 400 megabyte update so that POIs wouldn't just randomly explode for no reason when you cored them, and so that they could like fix a little bug where, you know, you couldn't right-click and get a closed cockpit on your SV. That is a patch that should be measured in at most tens of kilobytes, not 400 megabytes. So, Empyrion, stuff like this is probably why people are telling you that you are not ready for beta. Because you are just not good at the coding aspects of this job of making a game, okay? I'm going to cut the rant there because otherwise it's going to seem like I'm really hating on Empyrion a lot. I'm not hating on Empyrion a lot. I'm just saying that they have some obvious weaknesses that they need to work on, and they need to up their skills and get better at their, pardon the phrasing, up their game, no pun intended. You guys need to have unit tests so that when someone right-clicks with a cockpit on an SV, the open cockpit actually appears as it should. This is not difficult stuff. You should not be having these kind of regression testing problems, okay? It should be automated so that it can't be missed and it can't be screwed up. And then when that patch happens, that patch shouldn't be 400 megabytes, okay? That should be tens of kilobytes, because that's how much the actual changes are. Alright. So enough of a rant on there. Let's cut back to the gameplay.
Should we trust him, your neutralness?
All I know is my gut says maybe.
So, some of the big changes that have happened sort of in Alpha 12, at least in my opinion, well, there have been a lot of changes, but the ones that seem most significant to me on my most recent playthrough here, the first one has been that you no longer see the health bar on attack drones that come to attack you. And that's actually pretty interesting in my opinion. It's actually a really large change to how drone battles feel, because you no longer know how close a drone is to dying, and you don't really know how well you're hitting it, or if you're just missing it entirely. So it makes the drone battles a lot more tense, and feels a lot more realistic to me. I think it's a good change in spite of how much I actually hate it. It makes the gameplay better. Also, you can see that I've got my Alpaca starter CV here, and when I took my Alpaca starter CV out to the Polaris trade station, I actually got attacked by space drones out there while I was inside the trade station, which also was really, really effing annoying. I didn't think that I could possibly get attacked out there in space at the trade station, so I hadn't turned on the turrets or made them any ammo, and so I ended up having to use station services to insta-repair the Alpaca. The drone killed the front thruster, destroyed my advanced constructor, And of course, like a moron, I hadn't taken a template after putting the advanced constructor in there. So when I repaired the alpaca with station services, it repaired my advanced constructor to a large constructor, thus costing me a bunch of neodymium and other stuff to make the power coil. So I felt like a moron about that. So you can see that we're at the abandoned factory, and I've just gone through this POI and killed everybody and cored it out. I'm thinking actually about making this my base on this planet, mainly because I don't care about anything that's above ground, and the drones can come here and shoot up all the stuff that's above ground, and I don't give a damn. Now, if you're not familiar with this one, I have a feeling I can probably jog your memory a little bit. Ah. So this is that one POI when you go down past the little gas tanks here, and you go through the vents. You get into this room with these two huge laser cannons looking right at you. And you have to hit the little switch to turn them off so you don't just die repeatedly and get in a death loop in this room. And there's some horrors in here too, just to make your life a little bit more amusing. Anyway, because I've cored this, these guys are off and they're not looking at me. But, yeah, that's this POI. What I want to tell you about is a change I made to the Merc MX5, Jeff Randall's updated Alpha 12 Merc MX5. That was the SV that I chose to spawn in for my beginner SV. I skipped HV, I didn't even bother. You guys think I can make that? Let's find out. Nope. Oh. Oh, I'm so lucky I didn't break my leg. Okay. So it's getting to be nighttime, so I'll try and get through this quickly so we don't actually lose light before I can show you what I want to show you. This is the Merc MX5 that I spawned in, but you may notice something a little different about it. Mainly that instead of having a closed cockpit here, an enclosed cockpit like it does when you spawn it, this one actually has an open cockpit and it's got these armored windows over top of it. So this is a modification that I made myself because I found that I just liked having an open cockpit and the ability to stay inside the ship at all times, and it just worked better for me, although I do have to admit, when you're flying in first person, it is a little bit cruddy visibility. So let's go up in here and we'll sit in the cockpit. You can see when you're flying this thing in first person, you know, these windows, they're a little bit in the way. The horizontal struts are particularly annoying. I really do wish we could get something like, I guess these are 2x1s, so that would be 4x3, a 4x3 transparency, just so we could actually see that. Anyway, these are armored windows, armored small windows, and so they do cost some titanium, but it's actually not a significant amount over the cost of the regular blueprint. And let me see if I can show you a side-by-side comparison. I'll have to go back in editing and do a little magic here, but let's see if we can at least try and show a side-by-side comparison of what the costs are for this version versus the original. So here's my modified version, and this will be uploaded to my workshop by the time you see this video, and I'll put a link down in the video description to where you can get a copy of this blueprint if you like it. So you can see the costs here are what they are, and I will try and actually get the original Merc MX5 and put it over here on the left so you can actually see a comparison. The costs are very, very similar, and in fact the closed cockpit actually costs a little bit more of some of the rarer stuff. So arguably this one is actually a little bit easier to get, particularly if you're blocked on Cobalt, which I actually was a little bit earlier in this playthrough. Now, I do feel like in here, in this new closed cockpit, I really do need some more deco. It's kind of boring and plain. I'm sure this could be spruced up with some deco blocks and some textures to make it look more interesting, but I just haven't had time, and frankly, I'm not actually very good at decoration. I'm much more of an engineer type. In terms of the modifications that I had to do to the inside in order to make this happen, really it just amounted to putting a door here and making some little rampy stuff. And as I did that, I tried to respect Jeff's color scheme and general aesthetic. I've continued to make things the sort of dark grays that he's liked, and I used the same sort of mustard yellow or gold yellow on that door. I think it actually came out pretty well. It almost looks stock. You could almost believe that Jeff actually made this modification himself. Also, there's one thing that I want to show you. Let me put my cursor down here so you can see that I'm not opening that door. When I walk up to this door, it just opens by itself, and it's because you can see right here there's a motion sensor on the back of the cockpit that notices when you walk up. Let me actually show you what the sensitivity field for that actually looks like. So you can see that it's only on the left 2/3 of that door, so when you're over here working with your cargo boxes, you're not going to trigger the door. It's not going to be annoying you opening and closing all the time. You actually do have to get pretty much right in front of the door. Likewise, when you get inside the pilot seat is not in the sensitivity field, so the door will close automatically behind you. Oh, so we can't do this when we're not in setup. Hang on just a second. Okay. So when you get in the pilot seat, you're going to hear the door close behind me. Then when you get out, it's still closed. You have to cross over onto this block to get it to open. So what it makes it really easy to do is get up out of the pilot seat and just hold the back key and just get out. So it's real convenient. It's, in fact, in my opinion, a lot more convenient than the other way that Jeff had it, where when you get out of the cockpit, you end up kind of on top of the ship, and then you have to back up, open up the drone hatch, and fall in and close the drone hatch behind you, which was always a pain in the butt. Anyway, I think this is a really good starter SV. I did actually post on Jeff's YouTube channel a comment when he was building it in the build video saying that I really felt like with the new CPU system, upgradability is really key in builds so that you can get them early and get the abilities that you need to, like, go to space, go to the trade station, get some maybe neodymium or cobalt ore if you're blocked on those resources, and yet you'd still have the capability of, say, putting in a shield later, putting in a constructor later, and essentially upgrading it and making it a Tier 3 SV later on with all the capabilities that a Tier 3 has, better weaponry, built-in constructor, hull shield, all that stuff that a Tier 3 SV could have, but at the same time, you can get it early enough in the game that it's still very useful and sort of gets you over the hurdles that you get into in the early game. So, anyway, as I said, there will be a blueprint for this up on the workshop, and I will put a link in the description, but if you just find my workshop, you'll be able to find it no problem. So, like I said, I'm sort of in the late early game here. I haven't gone warpy warps the first time. I will soon. Just wanted to show off my modification to the Merc MX5. I'll probably turn this abandoned factory into my base on this planet, mainly just so I can put down a destructor or deconstructor here. And yeah, that's really about it. Just wanted to tell you guys I have been playing Empyrion, and it is still fun in the Alpha 12. And maybe we'll just sit here for a minute and watch the sun go down. And as we do, and as evening overtakes us, I will tell you that I hope that you are staying salty, my friends.
Your neutralness. It's a beige alert.
If I don't survive, tell my wife hello.